personally don't think he's funny, but I like him. He's a great guy. That's just my opinion, though.
You're always contradicting.
Yes, Chad.
You're the next to go.
I'm next on the list, by the way.
Hey there, guys. Welcome back to Soundscapes Rock. Today, we're delving into the untold story of Chad Channing, the former drummer of the iconic rock band Nirvana from 1988 to 1990. Did you know that despite his notable contributions to the groundbreaking album Nevermind, Channing's role often went uncredited, even leading to being dumped from the Hall of Fame through a brutally cold text message? We're also uncovering Channing's unfiltered thoughts about Kurt, Krist, Dave Grohl, and the monumental album Nevermind. Stay tuned because today it's all about Chad Channing, the former drummer of Nirvana. Before we continue, please consider subscribing if you're new here, and can you help us reach our goal of 200 likes to push the algorithm? Let's get started. Born on January 31st, 1967 in sunny Santa Rosa, California, Chad Channing's life took an unexpected turn at the age of 13. During a gym class accident, he shattered his femur. This incident led to a long and challenging journey of rehabilitation and surgeries. But in the midst of it all, Chad discovered solace in music. Unable to attend school during his recovery, Chad's parents bought him a bass guitar. It became his loyal companion, helping him pass the time and find a sense of purpose. When he was finally out of his leg cast, they even went the extra mile and got him a drum set to help rebuild the strength in his legs. Interestingly, Chad had a friend named Jason Everman, who would also go on to join Nirvana later on and then Soundgarden. They had known each other since 5th grade and even played in bands together during their high school days. Chad's musical journey continued when he was working as a sauté cook on Bainbridge Island, Washington. He started a band called Tick Dolly Row with fellow musicians Chris Carr, John Hurd, and Ben Shepherd. Ben Shepherd would later become the renowned bassist for Soundgarden. Tick Dolly Row had their moment in the spotlight when they shared a billing with Nirvana, who at that time was still going by the name Bliss. Fate was at play, and it wasn't long before Chad Channing was introduced to Kurt Cobain and Chris Novoselic, who were on the hunt for a drummer. Their paths aligned perfectly, and they began jamming together. These casual jam sessions soon transformed into electrifying live performances, marking the birth of Nirvana as we know it today. Chad may not have been Nirvana's first drummer, with Aaron Burkhardt, Dale Crover, and Dave Foster preceding him, but his distinctive drumming left a big mark on the band's early sound. Who can forget those perfect, slightly sloppy drums on tracks like About a Girl or Negative Creep? Despite these memorable contributions, he did not receive the recognition he deserved, and he was notably absent from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2014. Now let's rewind to where it all began. In June 1988, just a few weeks after Chad joined Nirvana, the band recorded their first single, Love Buzz. This marked their debut on the Sub Pop label and hinted at the greatness that lay ahead. On Christmas Eve of the same year, Nirvana embarked on recording sessions for their debut album, Bleach, which was eventually released on June 15, 1989. During these sessions, Channing handled the drums, except for Floyd the Barber and Paper Cuts, where Dale Crover of the Melvins took the drums, as these tracks had been recorded before Channing joined the band. Moving forward to April 1990, Nirvana was in the studio again, this time working with producer Butch Vig on Nevermind. Unfortunately, these sessions hit a snag when Kurt Cobain lost his voice. It was during this period that Kurt and Chris began to feel dissatisfied with Chad's drumming. Likewise, Chad expressed frustration at not being more actively involved in the songwriting process. By the way, we've covered why Nirvana eventually parted ways with Butch Vig in another video. Be sure to check the video description for a link to that story. The creative and artistic differences within Nirvana ultimately led to Chad Channing's departure from the band after their April-May 1990 tour, a mutual decision within the group. Channing shared his perspective, explaining that whenever they entered the studio, Kurt and Chris always had a clear list of ideas for their music. In contrast, Channing tended to be more in the background. Surprisingly, what Channing ended up playing on the recording was very close to what he did the first time he heard the song. It was one of those songs where everything just clicked naturally, as Channing himself declared. You can check our in-depth analysis of In Bloom in the description box below. To secure a new contract with a major label, Nirvana used the Butch Vig recordings that featured Channing as a demo. However, in the fall of 1990, the band re-recorded the tracks for their new studio album and recruited Dave Grohl as their new drummer. Dave Grohl adopted many of Channing's drum parts, showcasing the lasting influence of Channing's style on Nirvana's music. Notably, although uncredited until the deluxe edition, the version of Polly used on Nevermind is the original version recorded with Channing on percussion. It was the only song carried over from the Butch Vig recording sessions. When it comes to the 1992 compilation Incesticide, several tracks credited Channing as the drummer, including Dive, Stain, and Big Long Now. Live versions of Polly and Breathe that featured Channing appeared on From the Muddy Banks of the Wishkah, a live album released in 1996. In 2004, the With the Lights Out box set included a DVD of a December 1988 Nirvana rehearsal and 7 songs scattered across the first 2 discs of the set, all with Channing on drums. In December 2003, following Nirvana's induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Channing perceived the recognition as a gift for his daughter. However, he was later informed of his omission from the Hall of Fame via a brutal text message and was not included in the April 2014 induction. The accolade only applied to Cobain, Christ, and Grohl. Channing did attend the ceremony, and his replacement, Dave Grohl, made a point to publicly thank Channing for his contributions to the band. Grohl acknowledged that some of Nirvana's most recognizable drum riffs, such as those on In Bloom, were actually written by Channing. Now let's hear Channing's honest thoughts about Nevermind. Before Nevermind was officially released, Channing visited Ben Shepherd, Soundgarden's bassist, who happened to have a recording of the album on cassette before its official launch. Ben told him, "This is Nirvana's Nevermind, and it's coming out next month. You should give it a listen." When Channing first heard it, he immediately fell in love with it. In fact, he became a fan of Nirvana even after he was no longer a part of the band. He explained that when he was a member of Nirvana, it was all about the work, and he couldn't truly enjoy their music. But after stepping away, he could finally relax and listen to it without the critical mindset he had when he was involved in the creative process. Regarding Dave Grohl duplicating many of his drum parts on Nevermind, Channing took it as a compliment and felt honored by it. He noted that there were a couple of subtle differences. For instance, In Bloom, during the main verses of the song, Channing used a single kick drum, while Dave added an extra kick. Other than that, everything else in the song remained pretty much identical. Similarly, in Breed, there was just one part where Dave started a drum roll fill half a measure sooner than Channing did. Aside from these minor changes, most people might not notice any significant differences in the drumming. Now, if you are wondering, what did he do after leaving Nirvana? Well, Channing formed the Fire Ants with producer Jack Endino, who had produced Bleach. Members included Brian Wood and Kevin Wood, brothers of the late Mother Love Bone singer Andrew Wood and bassist Dan McDonald. Channing and McDonald collaborated again in 1998, forming the Methodists. Chad Channing made the transition from being behind the drums to taking on the role of lead vocals and playing bass and some acoustic guitar on all the tracks in his new project Before Cars. And the album was once again produced by Jack Endino. Channing, having played a significant role in Nirvana's story, was in a better position than most to reflect on his former bandmate Kurt Cobain, who tragically passed away in April 1994. In a documentary commemorating Cobain's life and legacy 10 years after his death, Channing recalled Cobain's unique quality. He recognized something extraordinary in Cobain, a sense that he was destined for greatness. It was just a matter of time before Cobain's talent and creativity would make a profound impact on the world. When Cobain's death occurred, Channing described his feelings as similar to being robbed. There were certain things he had wanted to say to Kurt, conversations he had hoped to have, but they hadn't been in touch for a while. The realization that these opportunities were now gone was the most challenging aspect for Channing. It was a harsh reminder of the loss of the chance to reconnect with his old friend. And that's a wrap for today. Now it's your turn to join the conversation. Do you believe Chad Channing was a key component in Nirvana's journey? Did he help Kurt Cobain shape Nirvana? And most importantly, Do you think he received the credit he deserved? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We're eager to hear your insights and opinions. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already so you won't miss our next video.